everybody. In this step, what we're going to be doing is setting up what's called a path lighting. So sometimes in games, especially kind of open-ish world games or games where you need to tell your player to go to something, it can be very useful to use lights to kind of direct the player's attention and kind of give them a sense for where they should go. So I'm going to be setting this up in my temple level scene. Most likely you should be using one of your dungeon scenes as well. It doesn't have to be the temple, of course. What we're going to do is we're going to head over to that scene, and just for the sake of making this really stick out, and this is something you can do as well, not required, is I'm going to turn down the intensity of our directional light, or aka the sun. What that's going to do is it's going to just darken our scene quite a bit. So something like this, we don't want it to be quite nighttime out, but this is considerably darker than it was before. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a series of what are called path lights to just give our player a sense for what the path they should be following is. So I'm going to right click in my hierarchy and create empty, and I'm going to call this path lights. Doesn't matter where that object is, that's not important to us. What is important is that we right click on it, go to light, we're going to create a point light. So point lights are lights that basically illuminate things in a sphere around the point at which they're at. And we're going to use these to kind of subtly tell our player what the right way to go is. So you'll see if I move this light down close to the ground, we can see that light is reflected off of these surfaces. We want to use pretty subtle lights. We don't want to use anything particularly bright. Like if I were to crank the intensity up here, that's a little bit ridiculous, but something like 1 and just a little bit off the ground just gives us just enough light that it grabs our attention away from something like this side section here. So we want to use a couple of these, but we want to space them out. So what I'm going to do is, because I have like kind of a nice trail here I want the player to follow, we're going to put one at the start, and then I'm going to duplicate it with Controller Command D. I'm going to move this next one over here down along these stairs. And then again, I'm going to duplicate it over here around this corner because the road turns. And then we're going to use one more down here at the bottom behind this boar. Because once they get here, they should be able to see the door, and that would kind of direct their path. Now, I think that I want these to kind of have their light reach a little further. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of them by holding Shift and selecting the bottom one. And I'm going to just drag this range option up a little bit. So you see as I do that, the range that these lights kind of reach expands a bit. So I'm going to set mine to something like 15, I think. I can even just type 15 directly. And now we get a little bit more length out of those lights. You're also welcome to play with the color, although in the case of path lights, I do recommend staying with the white or something maybe close to a yellow, because as you get to these other colors, they can be a little confusing. Like if you do red, it can make them think there's danger there. Green can make them think there's some kind of healing. Blue could be an item. So white's a nice neutral color that your player is just going to naturally be drawn to because it's brighter than the rest of the world. But once you've got those path lights, go ahead and save your scene.